So for a while, I had my brain wrapped around on 5th generation dragon slaying magic because we know it's different. Each and every dragon slaying generation is different in its own way, but 5th generation has its own variant from the fact that it doesn't get motion sickness. Motion sickness being like the big drawback of dragon slaying. Even when you become a dragon, it still will weaken you because, your true body, your original body is that of a human with dragon slaying kind of like parts onto it, dragon parts on it. We know like, okay, the motion sickness like messes with their parts of their brain and their whole like balance systems, all their senses, because the dragon senses are too much for their actual body. Now, 5th generation dragon slaying does not have that. I imagine 4th generation could be kind of like sorta and maybe in or out, because 4th generation is kind of I think the most vague, because it seems to be in an inanimate object, not like 2nd and 3rd gen where you have the Lacrima inside you. It seems kind of like with the Quartum Knights, there are inanimate objects with dragon slaying magic. I kind of like I've talked about. I still think that Urza, with holding on to a dragon slaying sword, should kind of like fall into what I would consider 4th generation, just because it's not her, it's the sword. And I know Wendy can buff people with dragon slaying magic, but you know what I mean. If it's not like, oh, it's not coming out of me, it's coming out of this sword, kind of like an idea, or just put it on any inanimate objects. But with 5th generation, the whole fact that they don't have like one of the key drawbacks of it is very questionable. I had the whole theory, well, maybe they're unable to eat their attribute because they eat dragon instead. They like straight like dragon meat. So it's like, maybe it's like, oh well, the strongest, what I would say the strongest pro of dragon slaying magic, because you can straight like up your stamina and your magic like right back up to full after eating like relatively not a whole lot of whatever your attribute is. I mean, Natsu would eat like a small explosion or just like a layer of fire, and it would just put him right back up to a good state. But we saw with Nebel, as he ate gum, as a sticky dragon slayer, he was able to get a boost, so that's out of the way. But it seems that Dragon Force is going to be the differentiating factor. Now, so my guess in why dragon eaters aren't vulnerable to motion sickness, because like I said, there are different ways that dragon slaying magic, it's presented to you, and those ways are what determine your generation. You can learn it, and I know it's generally for first generations from a dragon, but I think if you learn it as like a normal magic, it is first gen. Though, obviously the dragon is a big factor in it. I think any of them that just kind of like, it's like that they'll learn any magic. You learn it from a book. It's stemmed out of you and your understanding of how it works. I would consider that first gen. Second gen obviously is, you got a dragon Lacrima in you, and you can combine it with your magic to, become a dragon slayer. Third is 1 and 2 combined. And 4th, like I said, what I get is an inanimate object. Now 5th gen, I'm guessing because they're straight eating parts of dragons, that it's permanently altering their kind of body differently than, dragon slaying magic, would do, as it like shifts it over. Though slowly progressing it, it's still like, oh, well, you're using magic to alter your body, because eventually, you can shift between dragon form when you become a dragon and a human form. But I'm guessing with 5th gen, it's going to be more of like a full mutation. It's not going to be, oh, I'm getting shifted into it from magic. It's like permanently altering your genetic kind of like body, where instead of it being like magically induced, it's straight like taking your genes and everything that makes up your being and altering it at like an almost an atomic level or a genetic level kind of thing. We'll hopefully get more information in the next couple chapters. Like I can kind of see it like when we've seen Dragon Force before, like we see like the lower state where it's just scales, and then as it progresses more, before they end up just becoming a dragon, they get further dragon attributes. Like instead of scales, Wendy has feathers. Natsu will get like the fire horns and stuff. There's something that will be like a unique trait to them as they go. For the 5th gen, because like Scolion says it's forbidden, I'm guessing theirs is going to be a lot more like grotesque. Like, even though Nebel's a sticky dragon slayer, like, he's got, you know, more, he's got a lot of spider-like properties to him. I'm guessing he's gonna have, like, more limbs and look more like a monster when doing it. Instead of it being like, oh, you become kind of like a partial version. It's more of like a full hybrid, kind of like half and half. And not like, oh, well, like, maybe like Natsu when he, you know, got the Dragon Cry buff in, you know, the Dragon Cry movie, you know, in that whole arc. I can see it more of like again, like a grotesque kind of abomination style. Like, he's gonna have like just big elongated, well, he's already got elongated fangs, but more of like a big maw, like, you know, a warped skeleton, you know, limbs, and to look more like a monster than a dragon, because if it's forbidden, I think it has to do more than just, oh yeah, it temporarily puts you in a dragon state. It has to be something that's more dangerous to the user to use, because even though it's like, oh, well, eventually it'll turn you into a dragon, it's got to have a whole different twist. And I'm guessing that it's going to be part of the reason why, you know, oh, well, dragon eaters don't get motion sickness. Oh, so what's it going to be like? Oh, or will they fully turn into dragons? Is it going to be like a no coming back kind of thing? Maybe like the reason that Nebel is so strange looking is because maybe he uses it more. Maybe the dragon eaters, like, the more they use it, like, it's a permanent kind of like shift for them. Because with Dragon Force, it's like, oh, you know, you're further going down the line of dragon slaying magic, but temporarily, like, you're becoming more dragon-like for an extended period of time. Whereas maybe, like, whenever you use it in 5th generation, it will permanently alter something about you. Maybe it will have way less uses, but way more drastic of a change. Maybe, you know, they don't have as much control. One thing that's, like, to note, like, with Dragon Slayers, even when they became dragons, like, look at, like, Irene, like, Acnologia, I mean, any of them, we've never seen a part where it's like, oh, they turn into dragons and then, you know, they lose control. Like, Irene turned into a dragon. We saw the whole process. She was obviously shook by it, but she still had full grasp of you know, her own actions and whatnot. There was never a point where it was like, oh, you're a rampaging dragon. You know, you just took on this form and, you know, you're not yourself anymore, so maybe your mind gets kind of lost in it. Maybe that'll be part of the thing with, you know, with 5th gen. Maybe when they turn into it, they slowly kind of become more like an animal, more like a monster in both body and mentality. 2 weeks is going to be a rough wait for this one, but I think the payout is going to be definitely worth it. Like, we're gonna get a lot to work with in, I'm guessing, the next couple chapters before Alderaan gets up. I mean, the rest of the Dragon Eaters are going to be like, yeah, no, fuck it, we're getting out of here. Nebel staying is either going to mean his character is going to die or he's going to get captured. You know, we don't know exactly the full extent of him, but we also don't know the full extent of Diablos and their role in the story. And I'm going to do a video on that in a minute anyway. So at that point, you know, if the video is out, you know, you want to know what I mean by that, go check that out. You know, I'm going to be doing a lot of speculation videos off the content from chapter 46 because we got a lot to look at and a lot to kind of dig into being prepped up for 2020. 2020 is going to be a really good year for Fairy Tail in general. Like, there's a lot that's coming up. But anyway, other than that, comment below, tell me your thoughts are about all this. I just really want to talk about some of these. Like, I'm really excited to see some of the stuff coming up in the rest of this arc, and, you know, to see where some of these twists are going to be headed to. And other than that, like I said, comment below, thumbs up the video, but friend the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. When that, I appreciate everyone's already subscribed, and thank you all for listening. Bye.